Facebook is our future.
Precipice, looking down at a centralization of industries. Like ants whose erratic meanderings at first glance appear to be random and without cause, so too are the actions of our global corporate leaders, and it isn't until the efforts of their labors begin to bear fruit that we begin to see, at the very least, fragments of what the overall strategy was always about. Instead of multiple car manufacturers, instead of multiple social media outlets, instead of multiple retailers, etc., in time it will all boil down to one, which, if you think about it, makes perfect sense. If the goal has always been to shape one world out of this expansive mass we call planet Earth, wouldn't it then make sense to have only one of everything? One place you could go for retail, or would go to you. One car you could drive, or would drive you. One fast food kiosk you could order from.
Carl's Jr. Fuck you. I'm eating.
And, of course, one social media platform you could socialize on. If your goal is a consolidated world, then wouldn't it follow that you have consolidated industries as well? Let's take a look then at how Facebook will consolidate power and resources from their competition simply by offering a vastly better product. But before I do that, let me be clear about what I mean when I say a centralization of industries and a consolidation of power. I suspect most people will interpret that to mean Facebook will grow to be the only social media platform available, and they would be right. However, Facebook's reach will extend much further than that. What I mean is that in addition to taking over both Snapchat and Twitter to become the only social media platform, Facebook will also set their sights upon sites and apps that aren't traditionally classified as being social media. I'm talking about sites like YouTube, eBay, Craigslist, Meetup.com, Airbnb, eHarmony, Tinder, and other dating sites and apps. Now I will go over this list one by one, and I will explain to you exactly how and why Facebook will be taking over the services that these websites and apps provide. Keep in mind that in reality, this list is likely going to be a lot much bigger, but for the sake of brevity, I've kept this list here to a minimum. I believe there will come a time where Facebook will take over YouTube, if not outright purchase them or simply build a better competitive service. Facebook will be a legitimate competitor for YouTube because they will provide users with the one thing YouTube can't, and that is provide users with the experience of a virtual video environment, social media platform. Facebook is really going to succeed where YouTube has failed for many years. Facebook is going to handle the monetization of videos a lot differently than YouTube. There are a couple reasons for this. First off, in a virtual environment, you can expect to have virtual currency. This allows for microtransactions to be conducted seamlessly and without hassle. And with this currency moving around amongst the users themselves, this lessens the leverage of power that advertisers have over content being created. In other words, if an advertiser doesn't like the video you made and threatens to pull their ad money, it may not matter so much anymore because maybe 70% of your revenue is now coming from the users directly. The influence of bloated corporate ad money would diminish inside of Facebook's virtual video environment social media platform. I wasn't originally going to include this, but while we're on the two subjects of both advertising money and video, it seemed appropriate to give a mention to this article I had bookmarked but had forgotten about. It is an article from Talking Points memo entitled, "There's a Digital Media Crash, but No One Will Say It," by Josh Marshall from November 17th, 2017. The article talks about how many digital publishers are moving towards video rather than traditional text to deliver their news content. Not because their readership demands this, but because their advertisers do. It goes on then to talk about how too many publishers are competing hard for too few advertising dollars. And what caught my attention was I had no idea before reading this article that Facebook was making things difficult for publishers by consuming bigger and bigger pieces of the ad revenue pie. Now, for those of you who were concerned about whether or not Facebook helped influence the 2016 election with so-called fake news, you might want to pay attention to articles like this and understand that print and digital publishing is in a bad place right now. Meanwhile, as I've been saying throughout this series, Facebook's future is bright and are getting bigger. They are getting bigger and bigger with each passing year. They're going up, which is in the complete opposite direction of publishing, which is down. In this article from CNBC, CEO of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, talks about how Twitter's advertisers are breathing down his neck, demanding more simplicity and making a push towards more video. They're asking for a lot more simplicity. The company is working on making more content, including ad products, self-serve, said Dorsey. Twitter wants to generate new revenue opportunities for creators and advertisers, especially for video. Video is our fastest growing content, he said. We'll be applying a lot of this content to this. So, if current trends persist, then it is not out of the realm of possibility that Facebook may one day want to venture into the news business itself by buying up failing publications and ultimately become a bigger conglomerate than, say, News Corp. If this were to occur, you might see the day come where every single news article will be paywalled, but through instant, inexpensive paper article, no long-term subscription commitments, and no hassle, micropayments made seamlessly through Facebook's virtual platform, readers will hardly notice. Anyways, let's get back to YouTube here. The second reason why Facebook will handle monetization of videos better than YouTube is that unlike YouTube, Facebook will not use algorithms to search for keywords that might be considered offensive to advertisers. The reason why Facebook doesn't need to search for these words is because there is no censorship. The reason there is no censorship, as I talked about earlier in the section Getting to Know Your Personality Model. In addition to all of this, Facebook will also drastically improve the live streaming video chat room experience. Try to imagine your favorite YouTuber live streaming content over Facebook's virtual video environment platform. Imagine being in a room with not only the host, but viewers as well. This opens the door to new social experiences. You'll get to meet like-minded individuals and even be in a better position to collaborate on projects together. One of the disadvantages to spending almost a year working on this video series is that you can make a prediction 1 month, and about 3 months later, not only can your prediction come true, but given enough time, your prediction can also be considered old news by the time your video is released. Back in August 2017, when Facebook launched their video on demand service, I immediately began thinking about the possibilities that they would have to being able to compete with YouTube by letting users monetize their own videos as mentioned above. Well, fast forward to February and I see this article from CNBC. Facebook is planning a more direct assault on YouTube, sources say. Basically, it talks about how Facebook wants to expand Watch to rival YouTube by opening up the platform to individual creators. So you can already see inroads being made towards that direction. What this article doesn't talk about, however, is that lower tiered, lower revenue generating content creators won't have to rely solely on big corporate advertising revenue in the future, but instead will have the option to be funded solely through user donations using virtual currency, thus allowing more freedom to create what they want with no restrictions. Maybe a bit too early to talk about that now, but in time that will be introduced to Watch as well. Okay, let's talk about eBay here. One of the problems with eBay is flaky buyers. Buyers who will buy known used items off of eBay only to return it for some stupid reason, like, oh, it has a little stain here, oh, it wasn't what I thought it would be, etc., etc. I actually found a video entitled The Worst eBay Buyer Ever, and it perfectly sums up what I'm talking about here. A guy who sells on eBay, and he had this eBay buyer who wanted a refund, which is fine, except when the refund was issued, the buyer failed to remove the negative rating. Furthermore, after a search of the buyer's username, it revealed a long history of buying stuff, then asking for refunds, and sometimes he removed the negative rating, other times he didn't. I posted a link below if you want to watch the video, but the truth is there are countless stories like this all over YouTube. Back in 2005, I used to sell books on Amazon, and I would run into the same kind of problems. People with nothing better to do with their time other than to play games at the expense of other people who, in some cases, are actually trying to make a living with stuff, places like Amazon or eBay. The good news in all of this is that Facebook might just have a solution for this kind of problem. I spoke earlier about how Amazon has patented something called blended reality mirror, technology that lets you try on clothes virtually. Well, I also mentioned that Facebook will eventually get their hands on this technology and improve upon it. The result from this improvement of the blended reality mirror means that Facebook can now mandate a no return policy in their terms of service agreement. If a person inspects the item they wish to purchase virtually and they eventually decide to purchase the item, the fact that they reviewed the item in virtual reality will be considered a binding agreement and they cannot return the item once they purchased it. Because they have already reviewed the product, determined there was no damage, determined that it was what they wanted, and then signed off on it. That's it. No games, no excuses. Once you buy it, you own it. Facebook will also work with